At 79, Linda Ronstadt finally let the name slip out loud, the one she dodged for 35 years, Jim Carrey. She said it softly, almost like testing a sore tooth, during a rare interview on a shaded patio in San Francisco, the fog rolling in the way it did the night everything changed. It was 1990. She was 44, still riding the high of Canciones de mi Padre, her voice untouched by the Parkinson's that would later steal it, and he was 28, a manic Canadian comic with rubber limbs and eyes that looked permanently startled by joy. They met at the Crybaby premiere after-party, back when John Waters' films still felt dangerous and the Chateau Marmont smelled like clove cigarettes and ambition. Ronstadt, in a black velvet jacket and silver concho belt, laughed at something Carrey did with a cocktail napkin, turned it into a talking parrot in 3 seconds flat, and that laugh, the one that once sold out arenas, cracked him open like a piñata. What followed was 6 months nobody ever printed. Not the tabloids, not the rock biographies, not even the most obsessive fan forums. Carrey, pre-mask, pre-Ace Ventura, still living in a one-bedroom in the valley, would drive his beat-up Jeep to her house in the hills above Malibu before dawn, carrying grocery bags full of mangoes and weird Canadian cereal. She'd cook huevos rancheros while he did impressions of her exes, Jackson Browne as a depressed surfer, Albert Brooks as a neurotic mariachi, until she laughed so hard the spatula shook. They never went public because, as she put it now, I was old enough to be his cool aunt, and he was young enough to think love could outrun physics. The age gap, 18 years, was a headline waiting to happen, and Linda had spent a lifetime refusing to be anyone's punchline. The end came quietly, the way good stories usually do. Jim got in living color, then Ace, then the world. Linda watched from her kitchen television as the boy who once cried in her arms because he was terrified of becoming famous suddenly became the most famous man on earth. He stopped calling. She didn't chase. I knew the difference between a comet and a porch light, she said, voice raspy but steady, and I wasn't about to stand outside yelling at the sky. Years later, when reporters asked Carrey about the great loves of his life, he'd mention Lauren Holly, Renee Zellweger, sometimes even Jenny McCarthy, but never Linda. She understood. Some chapters you close gently, so they don't slam on your fingers. Now, at 79, wheelchair beside her, hair still thick and silver as a desert moon, Ronstadt looked straight into the camera and smiled the smallest, saddest smile. He was the funniest human I ever met, and for half a year he was mine. That's enough. I don't need the world to know. I just needed to say it once before the credits roll. Then she hummed a few bars of Blue Bayou, off-key but defiant, the same way she once let Jim Carrey fall asleep on her couch with his head in her lap while the Pacific crashed below them like applause that hadn't decided who it was for yet.